Trust me when I say, if business was easy, everybody would be doing it. Think about that. Everybody would be doing it. If building the perfect holding company is easy, everybody would have done it already. Because the information is there. The information is out there. Like a lot of you people that hate in the comments, what's the first thing you say? The information is free. The information is free. If you really dig and you really pay attention, the information to build the absolute perfect business is there for free. You don't even need to take a course. But I'll tell you what the right course will do for you. This is why I don't hate on courses. The right course from the right person will save you a lot of time and headaches. And don't get me wrong, I haven't found that perfect course yet either. But I know from just trial by error and the things I have picked up from some courses, it's just this, I haven't found the all-in-one course that does it all. Sometimes you got to get bits and pieces from other people, other organizations. But I do believe the information is there. I believe the information is out there. I believe the information out there for the perfect business is out there. But like I said, if business was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be successful. We all be getting money, regardless of the economy, regardless of the administration. But I want to share into my journey, because this is particularly for the haters. You might have to fail before you get it right. I've set up LLCs, I've set up corporations. I failed over and over and over and over, and I still haven't got it right to the level that I want to be at. I'm making money, but I'm not the level I want to get to where I could say, yes, I finally made it. And I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, particularly in network marketing. I'm not saying network marketing is all a scam. It's not. There's some good companies out there that have been around 20, even 30 years. So there is some good companies. I've had probably my longest success with just affiliate marketing. Plain old school affiliate marketing. I have my most success with the channels, just referring different companies, because I'm not monetized yet. I literally have like 6 YouTube channels. I actively post on 5, and the most success and longevity I've had in the 7, I think it's been about 7, maybe 8 years even on YouTube. Not monetized, mind you. I've had my most success with affiliate marketing. And I think going forward, that's probably going to continue to be the case. Currently, I am an Uber and Lyft driver. Every year I say it's my last year, so I'm not even going to say it again. But I really feel like rideshare is over in 5 years, so 2030, so we won't even have a choice in the matter. So I think rideshare will be completely dead, you know, with the autonomy, and not necessarily Tesla. I said in the previous video, I think Tesla is going to like take things to the next level. The competitors now are making some money. I saw a Cadillac, a EV Cadillac, and it was luxury. Way better than any Tesla out there. And it probably has more range. Obviously, the Chinese got Tesla beat, but with the current administration, I don't think we're going to see any Chinese EVs over here anytime soon. I just don't see it. But the Chinese, I hear, I forget the name of the company. I want to say it's BY something, BYD or BY something. It's like 3 letters. And they're killing Tesla in other countries. So technology is moving. So that's going to help us. But back to business, I think the only way you're going to make it is you got to have drive and ambition. Obviously, if you've been watching me for over a year, you see to have drive and ambition, if nothing else. I made a lot of mistakes. You could die trying to learn how to build the perfect company. RIP Troy Mason. You saw it with Troy. Troy was one of my first experiences with network marketing. Later, he tried to change it to affiliate marketing, but I watched Troy. He was a few years older than me, but I watched Troy over and over and over and over try to build a perfect company, and he just died recently. That's why I said RIP. I want to say maybe 2-3 years back. He just died really recently. Trying to build the perfect company and failed over and over and over and over. So you could die trying to build the perfect company, but that's why you got to have the drive. I believe, God willing, if I live long enough, I will achieve this, only because of one thing: modern AI technology. That is the one key that could keep everybody not only motivated, but it could speed up your process. When I started this journey, there was no AI technology. There was technology moving forward, but all we had is really social media. I knew social media was going to be part of the answer. I knew that. That's why I always stayed on YouTube. You know, all the other platforms, I didn't really have a belief in. Like, to this day, I still don't like Instagram. I just don't. I think it's too hard of an algorithm. And I see how some people game the system and they bought subscribers and they figured out how to game the system with Instagram. I never liked Instagram. I have an Instagram. I have actually more than one, but I don't like it. It wasn't until like TikTok that I actually started doing short form as well as long form, but I still believe YouTube is king. So I knew the equation of building the perfect, particularly holding company, was going to include social media, but it wasn't until AI technology, and I keep saying it was the pandemic, but it wasn't during the pandemic. It was actually after the pandemic. ChatGPT launched in sometime 2022, and it changed my whole outlook on business. It really did. It changed my whole vision. It changed my whole outlook on how I think about business. And I truly believe with a combination of AI technology and social media, it could be a fair plan for everybody to have a successful holding company and operating company at some point in your life. God willing, you live long enough. So if you're 30, under 30, get started. Get started. And life is not promised to any of us. I know you guys think all these old heads talking about death, and you could die tomorrow and be 20 years old. All I'm saying is get started. And I notice young people, they don't have the patience and motivation. That's why people over 40 in their 50s are killing it on YouTube. Because if nothing else, even though we're going to die sooner, we have more patience than the younger people under 30. Go figure. If you don't believe me, just go to YouTube, type in starting a business over 40, and you will see people in their 40s, 50s, even 60s killing it on YouTube. Because we have the drive, motivation, and we have the patience. And now guess what? We have AI technology. And that's another thing. If you're over 40 and you're not learning about AI technology, you're going to lose. You're going to lose this game in business. You're going to lose. You need to start dabbling with every AI platform out there. And Glendon, before he disappeared, Glendon Cameron, before he left the internet, or did he? He could be using AI technology. But before he started using his face and disappeared, he started saying this, and then he got away from it for whatever reason. He was starting to use Midjourney and all these other platforms. And Midjourney's not even needed anymore, by the way. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they're all coming out with their own integration where you could do their pics and it not be copyrighted, and do the pictures and edit them. AI technology has made it easier for everybody. They really did. Now, a little bit about me. I've been out here for a long time. I do have a holding company. It wasn't set up right. That's what I'm saying about trial by error. You got to get out here. You got to try things. I've had several companies before this one, but this is probably the longest company I've had in a while. I've had this holding company for about, I want to say, since before the pandemic, technically, if I'm not mistaken. Or during, I set it up. During the pandemic, I set it up. I want to say around 2020, somewhere around there, 2021. And that's just for my affiliate marketing stuff. I do have one guy that I'm renting a room to. He pays me through PayPal, which goes to that. And my account's in Navy Federal. I didn't burn my bridges with them yet. But I set it up wrong because I went to this guy. For those of you who've been on the YouTube streets, I went to this guy. His name was E. Dean Cole. And E. Dean Cole, what attracted me to E. Dean Cole is he attracted me because he gave me an answer that people like Glendon Cameron would never give me. They would say, start a holding company. Start a holding company. But E. Dean Cole gave me, I always thought, why won't Glendon tell us exactly what kind of business to start? Because you can't just start a holding company. It has to have a purpose. When you walk in the bank and the bank asks, what do? You need a purpose of your company. And it wasn't until E. Dean Cole that he started talking about a management company and using the NAICS code of management. So that attracted me to him. But what I learned later is from another company, that management company isn't actually in the banks. When you go to open a bank account, they don't have a category for a management company. So it's kind of vague. Same thing with business services. It's too vague. So they're going to pick a code for you within the bank. And when you go open a bank account at different places, they're all going to have a different code for what you actually do. So it wasn't until Credit Suite, which the only thing they admitted they did wrong was naming their business wrong, because you should never put a high-risk name like credit in your business name for obvious reasons. But the NAICS code that they chose, that is the software publisher, it's low risk, and it could be used for any online businesses. That's what clicked. The light bulb clicked, and I was like, yeah. And I've always had a fascination for wanting to do mainly an online business. Obviously, my other passion is transportation, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But the key with all this and building the perfect business or holding company is to have the lowest risk code. Now, you don't actually need to start a holding company. You just need to start a company. It could be an operational company, period. It could be, you just got to get started. A lot of you been watching me for years. You've been watching other people for years, and you never got started. You just got to get started. And ironically, the reason why I know all this, eating cold didn't break down that you got to pick something specific. When you go in the bank, they actually have a category for software publisher. That's why, so every bank you go to, they'll have the same code, which keeps everything the same everywhere you go, which is key to the right business credit later, if that makes sense. And the reason why I knew this, I picked a management company code for my original holding company, the Navy Federal, and they still asked me, well, what do you do? We don't have anything in the categories for a management company. And they went down a list, and software publisher, I noticed, was on the list. So I was like, yeah, that's the one. So even though my code is management company, I'm still software publisher at Navy Federal for that account. But if I go somewhere else, they're going to ask me, well, what do you do? If you pick a code that's already on the list and it's low risk, they don't need to ask you, what do you do? And this code could be used for a YouTube channel, media company, actual software technology companies. And I figured out this is the way I need to go. You know, I was going to go with transportation. I was going to keep it a little bit low risk with taxi and delivery, but I realized that could be a division of the main company. This is where the holding company part comes. And I also realized, because my original company's in Wyoming, just keep it in your state. And what I learned later is you're going to get the most credit if you just keep it in your state. You let everybody know you're the business owner. It just makes sense. I was trying to do anonymity in the beginning, and I didn't need to. Listening to all these gurus online, you don't need anonymity till later. Later on, I'll worry about building a holding company that I want to hide my assets. Right now, I just need a company set up, and your first company should set up with the intent that you might sell it later. You might sell it later. And I learned that recently from a guy named Derek Whitehead. All your companies in the beginning should be set up with the intent you might sell it later, because that's going to build you the most corporate and business credit. And according to David Whitehead, it should not technically even be a LLC. If you can afford it, of course, there's nothing wrong with LLCs. It's just a traditional C Corp Inc. is what they prefer when you set up a business that you're going to sell later or get shareholders or go public, they don't like LLCs. Not to go public. It can happen, but they don't prefer those. The LLCs, because it's a good flow-through entity, that should be your divisions of the main company. Like, for example, I'm going to set up a new company the right way with the intent to sell it. With the intent to sell it later, if possible. If not, sell it, go public. But that's how I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do is make it a software publisher company, and I'll have a division of that company where I'll put all the transportation stuff, the cars, stuff like that. And later, I probably would have another holding company for anonymity, meaning that could be an LLC. And there's other reasons for that. That could be an LLC because you don't want anybody to know you own that. And you're not building that to build corporate credit even. That's to hide assets. But right now, you should be focusing on, set up your first holding company with the intent to fund everything through that first. Then worry about divisions and other companies later of what you actually want to do. This should be set up low risk, fund it any way you can. And one of the things, or one of my goals, is I want to show people that you could fund this with gig economy. And then later, obviously, I'll set up the division and buy the cars through a baby company or sub company, LLC, owned by this main company. And the purpose of why the main company owns it is going to make that main company more valuable. And it's going to build up more corporate credit. And liability reasons. You want a separate LLC, obviously, with the cars. So if it gets sued or anything like that, it's separate from the main company. Once you start making money, getting the big assets, the houses, the more expensive cars, I would say, like, $100,000 cars, that should be owned by a anonymity holding company with a baby company under that. That will be a separate thing down the line. Obviously, your houses will be in separate LLCs owned by that holding company. And then that holding company should be owned by your living trust, if that makes sense. This is all the stuff I'm learning. This is years of learning the game from different people, and they not all having it right necessarily. And even lawyers. Different lawyers have different perspectives on the holding company, even. I'm learning. Glendon believes that all your holding companies should just be in a state where you live. He doesn't believe in anonymity at all. But yeah, I check out this law firm, and they believe that, yes, you should have a separate holding company with anonymity. You shouldn't even have a personal bank account. They're saying that your personal money should go in that holding company. So if you get sued, what do you have? You have nothing. Your paycheck and everything should either go to your trust or your holding company. So you have nothing. You personally have nothing in the future. That's the way the law firm was breaking it down. But Glendon just believes you should have your holding company set up in your state, own all your baby companies, take a paycheck in your name. So everybody has a different theory. The only thing I didn't like about what David Whitehead was talking about is the shelf corporations, buying the shelf corporations. And Credit Suite was saying that there's too much risk to doing that, because sometimes they come with liens. You're buying them from shady people. And I have to agree with Credit Suite on that one. Don't buy shelf. I think you should just start over with a brand new company. If you did it wrong, even keep that company. Like, even though my original holding company was set up by E.D. Cole, I'm not shutting it down, because that could play a part later. That could get me some, in a sense, that's a shelf corp for me that I know don't have liens. All I got to do is get caught up on my taxes with that one, and I have a company that's over 3 years old. So that'll come into play later. But I think if you made some mistakes, start over fresh. Set up your new corporation. Should be C Corp if you plan on either taking on shareholders or selling it later. Set it up in your state. This the one you want to build the most. This is the one I want to build the most corporate and business credit in my lifetime. This should be that one. And truthfully, I don't want to sell it, but you need to set it up that way. Even if I sell it, I want to be essentially like Elon Musk and own the most shares, so I can never be kicked out, in a sense. I don't need to be the CEO, but I never want to be kicked out per se. You know, I want to be able to sell it and still be invested in the company. So I'll always be a shareholder and a director. But that's how you should set it up, with the intention that you might sell it later, or even fail. Even if you fail, I believe you should do that. I think it's called 1244 stock loss treatment. In case the company goes bankrupt, you're able to get out and not owe anything. You got to talk to your law firm about that one. Low risk code, we got that. Low risk business name, don't name it after yourself. Can be similar to your name, but different. A shorter name as possible, which I've got. Check, I got that one. In your state, in your city even, if you can, meaning your local business address should be a real business address that you can access your mail locally. I made that mistake in the past where I had different virtual addresses, like iPostal, that they were in different states and stuff. No, this needs to be mail at a real business address, like a Regis, where you can walk in, pick up your mail. And I believe you should have the registered agent. I don't believe you should be your own registered agent, for reasons that if something happens, somebody tries to sue you or anything like that, it should go to the registered agent. The registered agent should inform you what to do next. And you don't need a lawyer anymore for this stuff. It's actually cheaper if you go to like a company called Busy, which is now Inkfile. I heard another one called Taylor Brands. There's so many companies out there now, and some of them you could refer out to your people that watch your channel. So you get the referral, which I will be doing. You should definitely have the domain. Your email domain should match. Your website and your email should match. info@yourwebsite.com. Always pick a .com, in my opinion. The website doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be. You just got to have that domain match. And the domain should be something relative to what your code is. Like a software publisher, I like that one because easy, because you can even have a website with like video content and it still works. You know, we teach people through video about how to set up businesses with AI technology and social media. It works. Boom. You can literally take them to a domain with just video content. Boom. It works. Now, I believe every business needs to have a 1-800 number. That's just me. Every business should have a 1-800 number. I think it's overkill, but some people think you should have a local number just for listings. Like you want to list it with Google and Yelp and all that. List your local number as well as your 1-800 number. Never a cell phone. The key is with the 1-800 number though, what I like, all these services now have 1-800 numbers that link back to your cell phone. So now you can have I would have a designated cell phone, call out, and when you call out, it actually comes up on their caller ID as the business name and number. I love that. I absolutely love that. So that part's easy nowadays. The problem is getting one where you have a number that I notice a lot of times with like Freedom Voice, you're getting too much spam. Spam meaning that you're getting these people calling you and you don't know where they're calling from. It's too much. This is why I don't want it on my main cell phone. I don't want even the number to link back, because you're going to get a lot of people calling you on this number. Because directly to your business, people are going to be calling you. Scammers are going to be calling you. I would have this on a separate cell phone where it just automatically goes to a separate voicemail where you can get back to people later or answer it if it looks really important, rather than having it on your main cell phone. That's just me. Are you going to have to carry around two phones? Not necessarily, because you can have business hours. So your business hours could be 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, period. If they don't call between those times, they don't get you. And then you have that cell phone with you between those times only. And like me, I'm an Uber driver. I'm not going to be picking up the phone all the time. But in between rides, if I see a call looks important, I pick it up. Simple. It can be your same cell phone because you can have it set up where it comes up and you can know, okay, that's a business call or a local or your personal stuff. So it can be the same phone. I'm just saying I prefer not to. I got enough crap and apps on my main phone. What else? You guys should be like writing this down. I'm not an expert, but I'm like saving you time. I'm saving you from having to go get a course, because this is all stuff I've made mistakes, I've learned. I made mistakes, I've learned. This is all the stuff I've learned over 7 years. This is how we're going to build the perfect holding company. You can call it an operational company at first, because you're going to put all the money you make into this. Now, the key is you got to try to deposit from different, you can't just deposit cash. I learned that mistake. You cannot just deposit cash. You can deposit some cash, but you cannot just deposit cash. In the beginning, I would do a online banking, and I'm going to tell you why. I would do an online banking only because they don't require a certain amount of deposits, like Novo, another referral as well. You can put $50 in to get started. Once you start having deposits in, I would say if you could get it where you could deposit in more than what you pay yourself, that's when you go to a bank. Once you can get up, I would say once you can scrape up, I would say $3 to $5 grand, go to a tier 1 bank. Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they're all shady. I'm gonna just keep it real with you. They're all shady, but the tier 1 banks are key into getting a lot of business and corporate credit later. I would do a local credit union that allows you to open business bank accounts, and then a second tier bank, which would be like your M&Ts, your TDs, your TD Bank, your Webster, PNC. I would get as many business bank accounts once you start making serious deposits as possible. And the reason for that is simple. You cannot have all your money in one place. You cannot have all your eggs in one basket. You can't. Something could go wrong, and you don't want to have all your money locked up in, say, Bank of America. I've seen this happen. In the beginning, you don't have a choice. You want to deposit. If you only deposit in $5 grand a month, keep it in the one bank. But I'm saying once you get over, I would say 10 grand or more a month, you definitely want to break that up. The minute I could get over $5 grand a month coming in, I would start breaking that up where it goes to different banks. You know, I already have a good credit union. But I probably would try to look for a local one. Local credit unions will give you more money than you think. And then once you got 10 grand or more, I would start expanding, because a lot of these credit unions are going to give you no doc money, especially if you're in the category that I was talking about, low risk category. You're in a low risk category. Other than Navy Federal, there's other credit unions that will give you, based on stated income. This is why I like software publishers, technology. What are you doing? We're trying to go build an app. It takes money. You can go to different ones, get 50,000 from each one, say 5 different credit unions. And all you got to do is donate some money to a charity, and they allow you to have out-of-state depositing in their state. Because a lot of out-of-state credit unions are not going to let you deposit because you're a foreign entity, they consider it. But they let that slide once you donate money, or foreign file it in that state. There's nothing wrong with that. It just says you can do business in that state. And now you have a situation where the only reason why I don't like the foreign file thing, sometimes it takes money, you know, where if you donate to a certain charity, it's like $20, you know, maybe $50 at the most. Foreign file, it requires paperwork and time. So you do, after a while, a couple credit unions, you could rake in easily 50,000 from like 5 or 6 different credit unions, you know, just based on your personal credit. And your personal credit now, they're only looking for, like, I would say now, because the banks are tightening up a little bit, 680. In the past, I would say you only need like 640, 650, but 680. And here's the key about credit. There's technology that will help you repair your credit now. That could be another resource that you can market for your business. I found some online credit repair softwares that they allow you to use it for your own customers. So you can repair your credit. Once it starts working, you go up certain tiers, and they allow you to do it for more and more people. And it uses technology, so that's still under the same code. You're not credit repair. You're a software service that does credit repair. See what I'm saying? And you don't offer that. Like, I wouldn't even advertise I do credit repair. I would have this in your arsenal so that when you're out prospecting for new clients, and you'd be like, this is what we do. We help people build the perfect company with software and social media. And when you run across credit problems, because you got to have your personal credit, because the first couple, let's keep it real, the first couple business trade lines are going to be backed by your personal credit. And another thing I didn't do in the past, you got to track which ones are going to use your Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. Because I made the mistake of going to too many banks that were pulling from my Experian, and it tanked my score. Where if I could have just went to, okay, these two banks are going to do Experian. So you go to the one that's going to go to just TransUnion, and then the Equifax, they don't see the other ones. You know, you can go all at the same time for all three. Now you're going to get more credit. You're going to stop, let those inquiries come off 6 months. I would say a minimum 6 months before you go apply for more. At some point, you're going to build a business profile big enough so you don't even have to guarantee anymore. And it's going to happen sooner with car loans. I would say after your first big car loan, you'll be able to go to like Chevy, Toyota, definitely Hyundai, and literally just be like, yeah, this is going to be a commercial loan or lease. And you're going to get it like that because you're going to see like all these trade lines from your business and you're paying them on time. You could take those cars, set up your division. You could buy them with your credit from your main company, but you could put the cars, register the cars in the LLC, that's the division, and now you have the money for your transportation company making money. It's going to pay back money up to the main company so it could pay off those loans, and then keep some money in the operational company to keep it going, you know, for repairs and whatever else. That's what really made me think I was doing this wrong the whole time in the beginning. I was just thinking about setting up a company for anonymity. It's not about that. Don't worry about the anonymity. Like, that definitely comes later. Later, once you got something, real estate, expensive cars, you need to be thinking about your trust anyway. I would say at that point, I would go to a real law firm. And I could suggest a couple if you come to me. You can literally email me, and if you have the money, I could suggest 2 really big law firms. It is going to take some money. It's going to take probably a few $1,000s, but it'll be set up right, legal and right. Set up your trust and set up your new holding company to hide assets owned by your trust. You know, obviously your trust is going to have assets too, but that should just be like your main big assets, like your personal home. Maybe you got one expensive personal car. Everything else should be going to under your main holding company, but not directly. The main holding company is just going to own smaller LLCs that own different properties, different businesses. And that new holding company is then when you start buying companies, it's going to be owned by that company. Not this company you're trying to build for credit. This should be totally separate. This company you're building up for credit should be something you're thinking about taking on investors or selling and staying on the board if possible. staying on the board and staying an investor for the rest of your life, if possible. But you should always have later set up your trust in that holding company. And when you sell this business, where the money go? To that holding company you got that's set up with anonymity. So now you got the funds going there. That main holding company you're hiding doesn't even have to pay you a paycheck, because you got this one you sold that if you're, as long as you remain in the company, like I'll remain active in the company as an employee even, and still get a paycheck. This is how we got to start thinking. We got to start thinking bigger as black people. And hopefully this company I'm going to build is going to be the proof to show other people, number one, I could do it, and number two, how to do it, and number three, you're going to want to partner with me because I'm showing you how we did it. And all it takes is that one client to give you all the proof for the next client, and then the next client, and then the next client, and you're repairing all these people credit with the software. So now it don't even matter if they come in and their credit is a little challenged, because you're clearing up their credit. And some of them might want to just do credit repair, set up a software company and just, that's their money. You're coming from the credit repair. And you know where I thought about this? The credit repair side, how they can get clients. If you're one of these people and you have your little tax business, like you're one of these people, you have a Liberty tax store. Because tax stores, you really aren't making money all year round. But if you incorporate, we have this software that repairs your credit. If you just introduce this one little thing, it could bring you in an extra $20,000 to $50,000 a year for a tax company. And then that tax company, because you already got things set up, you could move to the next stage, which is set up your company for anonymity, because you already have the tax business. You could start thinking about your living trust and setting up that extra company for your anonymity. And a lot of people want to do taxes. So that could be one of your first companies. Set up your company under a low risk code, because again, taxes are not, in my opinion, high risk, but they're not low risk either. So I would set up the company and make the tax service a division, but put the money in, start doing tax for people under the main company, and just start depositing that money in. Once you get that $5,000 a month coming in, then you can start setting up your division, say what, where it says it does taxes. Trucking, I would never set it up where it does trucking, but you might want a division set up for taxi and delivery and still do trucking under that sub company. The possibilities are endless, but particularly us as minorities, we got to start thinking bigger. We got to stop thinking about just doing, like, for example, some people can't get past even just doing Uber and Lyft. You could literally set up an LLC or even a corporation, fund it with gig economy, and do all this stuff. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to obviously fund it with different gig jobs. I'm going to have them pay this new company once it's set up directly, and only Uber and Lyft are the banks going to think, okay, you're getting paid from Uber and Lyft. So they might think, yeah, you're just doing taxi and delivery. But these other companies, they're not going to know that. it's only Uber and Lyft. I wouldn't focus on Uber and Lyft so much. Uber and Lyft, if you have to, just have it go to your name and deposit the cash. And then have these other companies. There's a lot of delivery companies. They're not going to know they're delivery companies paying you directly into your main company what they do. You know, you could be like, I offer them a software and they're paying me so much for the software. The bank's not going to know the difference. They're just going to see deposits. Now, you can't just have cash going into the bank. That's what I'm saying. You're going to have to have it where people pay you through different pay systems. PayPal, Venmo, pay into that account. And then the bigger companies are going to deposit the check directly into your business bank account. Once your division for transportation is set up, you know, that's when you can have Uber and Lyft pay into that account directly. You know, it's a rainy day today. This is why I have time to myself to just sit and think about this stuff. Slow rainy day, slow rainy Saturday. And rainy days are starting to be positive, more positive for me for a couple reasons. Yes, it could be considered a dreary day, but for me it's good days because there's no sun glare. And it's the days I really sit and think. You ever just sit and look out the window and see rain coming down? And you'll be like, yeah, I could really think about what I'm going to do for the future. That's what I suggest everybody do on these rainy days. Instead of looking out the window being depressed, think about your next move. Look out the window and think, what could I do? Because going back to school is not an option for a lot of people, especially in your 40s, 50s, 60s. Going back to school isn't going to do nothing for you. Give you a degree that's not going to bring in more money. But starting a business will. I promise you that. Starting a new business could change your life. You know, even a little bit of money I bring in for affiliate marketing, if I really ramp that up, and obviously I'm doing more video to help that process, I literally don't even have to drive. I drive because I like it. I literally drive for Uber and Lyft partly because I like it. Let's be real. I complain about the pay, but a part of me likes to interact with the customers, and I'm an introvert. I like when people are behind me and I'm not directly in their face, and we could talk about different things about life. And it's flexible. I can get on and off the app when I want. So driving for gigs are not the end of the world, especially if you got a vision for the future. Especially if you got a goal in mind for your future. You're not just thinking about, oh, I just want to drive Uber and Lyft the rest of my life. Number one, you can't. Like I said, it's over 2030. You might have to shift the delivery, but have the delivery companies paying your main company. And last, before I go, the minute you have more than what you would want to pay yourself, cut yourself a check. I know it's going to be double taxation. I know. But there's a reason for it. It's going to help you on the credit building side. Because you have what? Real pay stubs. You can't do gig economy and not have real pay stubs because you don't want them to just think you just do gig economy. Well, how much do you make? Here's my pay stubs. So once you get to the point where you're making enough, cut yourself a check. You know, but make sure you got that in between to cover the taxes. But I say go to like ADP, one of these online companies, cut yourself a check. I did it 1 year. I paid double taxation, but I got a personal tax refund. I put the personal tax refund right back into the business. There's nothing saying you can't do that. You get your money, you put it right back into the business. Or you put it into your car or whatever it is you're doing. But I like gig economy because it's a way to guarantee your business is making money. You know, if you really have a side hustle, like if you're a babysitter or a dog walker, have them pay you through Venmo and then have that go to your business bank account. Simple. Whatever side hustle you do, have it go to whatever payment processor you use. And like for me, I got one of my guys that are renting a room from me. You know, I call him my roommate, but he's technically kind of like a tenant. I don't own the property. He pays me through PayPal. I have the PayPal money go to my business bank account. You could do that with your new main account. Do that with your new main business account as much as you can. Once you get to, before I go, once you get to about $4 to $5 grand a month, there are companies, and I can give you a list if you email me, that will pay you just on the revenue you're bringing in. They don't even care about your credit. You can get $10,000 to $20,000 to put back into your business just based on business activity. Now, they're a little bit higher interest, so I don't try not to, unless you really need those. Like if you were going to go buy a car to drive for one of these gig companies, I could see how it might be worth it because you're going to make the money to pay the money back. Might be worth it. Might be worth it. You know. And in a lot of these companies, like what is it? Like the Intuit app that like tracks your miles and your expenses for your business. They will base it on your revenue. They'll loan you money based on your revenue. PayPal will give you a loan based on your revenue. So I would use those loans last minute, like you really have no other source of income. I would try to base it on your credit, your personal credit. I know TD Bank had a business offering where if you already had a relationship with them, no doc, they could give you up to $100,000, no docs. Now, if you had $4 to $5 grand a month going in your business bank account in TD, they could give you $50,000 to $100,000 for your business, and say your credit score is 680, like that, just on stated income. And the stated income would be real because they see you have a track history of deposits, and it's not just cash. You know, so to me, I have the vision now, and I understand what I got to do. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes, but you got to get out here and fail sometimes just to learn. You know, I failed over and over and over and over and over, but I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to finally learn. I'm starting to finally make money outside of just gig economy. I'm starting to finally make some money. It's small money, not going to lie to you, but it's money that I can ramp up using social media and what else? AI technology. And the beauty is, one day I'll be able to walk into the bank with confidence, say, Chase, open a business bank account. And what do? Software publisher. I'll have a license. I'll have a beautiful website talking about this stuff. This video could be on there talking about this stuff. We have a business where we can help anybody start a successful company using AI technology and social media. Here's a website. Here's a license. On stated income, we need $100,000 to help build our app. There you go. Deposited 2 days later. Some of them are going to be able to do soft pulls. The TD one, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a soft pull. Even better. Even if they got a hard pull you're only going to do those like every 6 months. You're not going to do it all the time. This is why I say AI technology is going to change the game for everyone that's trying to start a new business. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for listening. If you want more videos like this, subscribe, like, comment, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Thank you.